Fuel production and better farming practices have all steadily shaped and improved agriculture over the past century. It's been driven largely by humanity's ability to build tools, produce at scale, and trade efficiently. South African agriculture really reflects that, an interconnected, highly developed system made up of private infrastructure, processing plants, and commodity markets. It's part of a broader, almost state-of-the-art network, one of the largest agricultural exports in the Southern Hemisphere, one of Africa's biggest grain producers, a major citrus exporter, and the Valhart's irrigation scheme, which is one of the largest in the Southern Hemisphere. That's especially significant when you consider how dry most of South Africa is. Only about 10 to 12% of the country is considered arable land, and a large portion of that falls into lower quality classes, class 5 to class 8. Yet, despite that, productivity still comes through in surprising ways. The Karoo produces world-class wool, and the Northern Cape manages to produce high-quality nuts, even in very limited rainfall. In the end, it really comes down to human ingenuity, pushing systems beyond what the natural constraints would suggest. We are about to embark on a journey to the remarkable system that is South African agriculture. How does it happen? What drives it? How does food move from farm to fork across vast distances, hostile climates, volatile markets, and complex supply chains, yet still arrive fresh, affordable, and available every single day? So make sure to like and subscribe to Tescor and grab your popcorn. You don't want to miss this. South African agriculture is often described as a country of two agricultures, a reminder of the divide between highly commercialized production systems and underdeveloped rural farming areas. The question becomes, how do we extend development in this vibrant sector to all rural communities? In production, value chains, and economic activity and grow the pie. To understand this system, economists often rely on familiar metaphors. In global economic commentary, you may have come across the proverbial Big Mac, a simple product used to compare inflation, purchasing power, and cost structures across countries. But in this story, we use something closer to home, the Proverbial Kota, to explain the South African agricultural system. On the surface, it is just bread, slab chips, a Russian sausage, cheese, beef patties, eggs, lettuce, sauces, spices, and acha. But behind every ingredient lies fertilizer, diesel, cattle genetics, irrigation, processing, financing, packaging, refrigeration, transport. Starting with the bread, before a kota cane begins to stack anything, they start with the bread. Wheat produced in South Africa supplies roughly half of the country's demand. Most of it is planted in winter, with the major wheat producing region being the Western Cape. But before bread ever reaches a kitchen, a chain of processes unfold far beyond it. Wheat must be milled, fertilized, irrigated, stored, and transported through a tightly coordinated supply system. It is typically harvested at around 12 to 14% moisture content, low enough to prevent spoilage, mold growth, and disease during storage. Wheat also has a relatively high harvest index, meaning only about 45 to 50% of the plant's total biomass becomes usable grain, thanks to the Green Revolution. The remainder is stalks and straw. This byproduct is not wasted. It is often baled for livestock feed, particularly in beef production, or left on fields to protect the soil structure, and reduce moisture loss. Once harvested, South Africa relies heavily on structured storage systems, grain silos and steel bins to stabilize supply. These systems drastically reduced post-harvest losses to around 1 to 2%. Without them, losses across the value chain from harvest to retail could theoretically approach 30 to 50%, especially under poor handling or storage conditions. The most common wheat variety used for bread is Trichotum aestivum. It is valued for its high gluten content, which is essential for yeast-leavened bread. Gluten is a plant protein that provides elasticity, allowing the dough to trap gas and rise. Then there are the vegetables, the lettuce, the mango archer, and most importantly, the fresh potatoes that form the backbone of the Kota slab chips. They pass through a critical node in the system, the Fresh Produce Market. The Tshwane Fresh Produce Market is one of the key trading hubs in South Africa's agricultural economy. It operates as a natural meeting point for producers, agents, and buyers, each playing a defined role in moving food from the farm to the city. Generates an estimated 3.5 billion in annual turnover. It acts as a natural and central facilitator between producers, agents, and buyers, taking a small percentage at around 5% on transactions that pass through the system. Inside the facility, commodities are organized into clearly defined sections: potatoes, onions, and stone fruit, each with their own designated spaces. Branding from farming groups and agents is visible on the stacked crates and pallets, reflecting the commercial identities behind each product. The supply chain begins with producers, the farmers. They enter agreements with the agents, who are responsible for marketing and selling the produce on their behalf. In return, agents take a negotiated commission, typically around 2 to 7%, depending on the product and the contract structure. Among many agencies operating in these ecosystems are names such as Noorval, Subtropical, DW Fresh, and RSA Group. These agents compete to secure the best possible prices for producers while managing storage, logistics, and distribution. Risk is distributed across the system, while agents handle the sales and negotiation. Producers often carry the primary risk of spoilage and market fluctuations. Cold storage facilities play a critical role here. These are typically owned by and operated by the agents themselves, designed to slow down spoilage and extend the selling window. However, they come with significant operational costs, particularly electricity. On the other side of the system are buyers. They range from small-scale traders, potter shops, spaza owners, and local greengrocers to large retail chains such as Spar Group. Each buyer enters the market to secure stock at a competitive price before distributing it back into the local community. To maintain order, the buyers are registered and issued access credential. Cash is not exchanged on the trading floor. Transactions are formalized through agents, and the market is a system itself, ensuring traceability and control across the chain. Food safety and quality control are also embedded into the system. Inspectors from regulatory authorities grade produce according to strict standards. Potatoes, for example, are classified based on size, appearance, and quality, factors that directly determine price. Only approved grades enter retail channels, while substandard or spoiled goods are separated and removed from circulation. The beef patties, ham, bacon, an omelette, and cheese in a quarter all come from livestock. But before animals can produce meat, milk, or eggs, vast quantities of crops must first be grown for animal feed, used in CAFOs, concentrated animal feeding operations. Diesel, breeding, and refrigeration is all involved. For every kilogram of beef produced, only about half of the cattle's live weight ultimately becomes edible meat. Most commercially marketed beef in South Africa start in extensive felt-based operations to produce weaners, finished in feedlots where cattle are fed carefully formulated rations designed to maximize growth. The main feed ingredients are maize, soybeans, and hay, and these crops produced using intensive farming methods including irrigation, fertilization, mechanization, and precision agriculture. They provide the nutrients. Soybeans provide the protein, maize supplies the carbohydrates and energy, while hay provides the fiber needed for healthy digestion. These ingredients are then blended into balanced feed rations by animal nutrition companies such as Molatek and Furmo, which manufactures feed and nutritional supplements using ingredients sourced from crop producers. Another important ingredient is molasses. Rather than being grown directly, molasses is a byproduct of sugar production. So sugar cane is grown mainly in KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga, where it is processed into sugar, with molasses used to improve the taste of the cattle feed and stimulate appetite while adding extra energy. Pigs, poultry, and dairy cattle are also raised on carefully formulated diets. Although each has different nutritional requirements, dairy cattle generally consume more forage such as hay, silage, and grass because the goal is to maximize milk production rather than muscle growth.